Hi, it's Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and InkNouveau.com. This is another one of my videos in the Fountain Pen 101 series, which covers the very basics of education for fountain pen usage. What I'm going to cover today is what is a fountain pen and how does it work. I'm going to cover ballpoints and roller balls and what distinguishes a fountain pen from these two, and show you the mechanics of it and how the very conceptual elements of the fountain pen and how it actually functions. Let's go for it. There are three main types of pens that most people are familiar with, maybe some more than others. There's the ballpoint pen, the gel rollerball, and then the fountain pen. These are the three I'm going to focus on for this video. There are some others out there, but these are the main three. I'm going to tell you how they all work. The first one I'm going to focus on is the ballpoint pen. The ballpoint pen is a relatively simple device. It was invented around the 1950s as a much more convenient writing instrument than what was at the time almost your only option, and that was the fountain pen. So the ballpoint pen very quickly made the fountain pen nearly obsolete in terms of practical usage. And the main reason is because of convenience. The way that the ballpoint pen works, if I can pull this thing out of here, is that it has a small tube inside the pen, and the tube is filled with a paste ink. This paste ink backs up to this little ball that's in the tip of the pen, and when you roll this ball across the page, it draws the ink onto the paper and it writes on the page. And that's how it's done. This is typically what you see with ballpoints. Usually you're using a ballpoint for utility and not for the pleasure of the writing experience. You often have to bear down on them a little bit, but they're cheap. This one costs about 10 cents. So that's the benefit of a ballpoint pen. An improvement on the ballpoint pen is the gel rollerball. Gel rollerball works very similar to the ballpoint, except instead of using a paste ink, it uses a gel-based ink. And the telltale sign of a gel ink is when it has this little backing here. I don't know exactly what you call this, but it's some kind of gel substance back here to keep it from flowing all over the place. But it's a more liquid than the paste, so it's going to be a little smoother when it comes out of the pen. But it's still got a ball in the tip, and it's going to work in a very similar fashion to the ballpoint. The main benefit of the gel rollerball is that it's going to be a little bit darker. It's going to appear a little more uniform in color, and there are a little more options when it comes to choosing refills. Usually ballpoints, your cheaper ballpoints will not have refillable inserts, but the gel rollerballs almost always do. So you can buy these separately, you can keep your pen and just refill the refills. This pen right here is a Pilot G2, a very popular gel rollerball type of pen. Might cost you a couple of dollars. It's not too big of an investment. The biggest problem with gel roller balls is that the refills will go pretty quickly if you use the same pen for a while. If you write a lot, it may go away in a week, and they can cost a couple dollars up to $7 or $8 a piece depending on which brand of pen you have. So it's a lot more expensive way to go when it comes to actually using and having ink. The other alternative we have is the fountain pen. The fountain pen works differently than these other pens because the fountain pen uses a liquid ink. It's completely liquid, just like it's mostly water with dyes in it. So the fountain pen is going to write a lot smoother. And when I write with a fountain pen, I almost always write longhand just because it's so fluid that it's much easier to do so. The fountain pen works a little bit differently, and I'm going to grab a different pen to show you exactly how that works. So here is the fountain pen. The way that the fountain pen works is it stores the liquid ink, which you can buy in a bottled form like so. Lots of different colors, so you can really get to choose what you want. But it stores the ink up in the body, and then it has a feed system inside the pen that draws the ink to this metal part here, which is called the nib on a fountain pen. I'm going to pull this out to show you exactly how it works. So this is the feed and the nib. The feed is this black part right here. And the reason it's called a feed is because it is what draws the ink to the nib. If you look in here, you can see that there's a very small slit that's cut from the very back of the feed that goes all the way up to the tip. Now what that's for is that restricts the ink, and the water, because of its surface tension, draws up here through capillary action. And these fins here act almost as a regulator, so the ink kind of gets stored up in here to self-regulate depending on your writing speed and your writing pressure, so that it can kind of give you ink on demand. Now when this feed draws the ink up through this little slit, this mates to the back of the nib, which also has a slit cut from this point right here. There we go. From that hole, it has a slit that's cut all the way to the very tip. And that continues the capillary action, which draws the ink all the way to the paper. So that is the essence of how a fountain pen works. It's all capillary action. It has nothing to do with gravity or pressure or anything like that. It's a relatively simple and straightforward device. I hope this Fountain Pen 101 video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can always refer to the Fountain of Knowledge on the gouletpens.com website, or you can shoot me an email at brian@gouletpens.com. Thank you very much, and write on.